Welcome everyone. I'm Divyauri, your host, and joining us is someone truly inspiring, Dev Jagwani, a young individual who pursued his higher studies in computer science abroad in Canada. He has experienced his life from entirely different perspective, and he chose to return India with a purpose and clarity. So back home, he has found his calling in the world of financial literacy, and that is a subject he's actively studying right now, and he's preparing for a major examination in. What he truly believes is that true financial freedom doesn't lie in how much you earn, but it actually lies in how well you understand your money. Okay, so first question. You're still in your 20s and yet you've already made some deliberate choices and how to basically direct your life towards a path. How did exactly you choose this specific financial literacy field? Like you're from a computer science background. What made you incline towards this field? Like how did you
Okay,
exactly choose
so let
to pursue it seriously?
got it. So let me start by telling a little bit of background about myself. So I left India when I was barely 18, and I went for a advanced diploma that was a 3-year course in computer engineering technology. And at the time I chose it because I was in love with tech. I loved iPads, applications, phones, websites, and I wanted to know what the working behind is, right? That's why I went into coding and everything. So the part where I learned about coding and the part about computer science was fun, right? But when I started working in it, then I realized that the job industry is not what you study in the books. Something might be interesting, but you might not have fun while you're working. And somehow it's important to be passionate and to like about what you do. And I wasn't happy with just computer science. So when I was like, I went in an early age, right? So I made some bad financial choices. You give an 18-year-old thousands of dollars and he just goes on a shopping spree. I didn't care about money. I wasn't working. People around me started early, like they started working part-time jobs with their studies, but I didn't do it. I was like, oh, I'll find a job. I'll find a job. I kept putting it away. But maybe after a year, that's when my eyes opened that hey, like the money's starting to run out and I have to find a part-time job. When I started working, that's when I realized that making money is very tough as compared to just spending money and going to the mall, having fun. When you work 8 to 12 hours for just a couple $100, then you know the true value of money behind it, the true work that goes behind it. And when we're kids, our parents just do everything for us, so we don't know the work that goes behind it. So when I finished my computer science, I started working full-time job, and even then the financial troubles continued because of my financial habits. I wasn't aware of anything. I knew about the basics, like hey, save some of the money, save 10% or 15% of your paycheck, put it as an emergency fund, put it in the bank, or save some cash or whatever, right? But but that didn't help, right? There was always some kind of expenses that emptied my savings or anything. And I made some really bad choices about my spending habits. So I racked up a lot of credit card debt too. So every month, as soon as the paycheck hit my account, after paying the rent, after paying the credit card fees, after paying the subscriptions and everything, I was only left with a small portion of it, right? So that's when I realized that just working day to day just to survive, just to pass by, like that's not something that I want to do. And I was very depressed at the time. So my dad, he was big into trading and he sent me $1,000 and he told me to just forget about it and just invest into some stocks, right? And after maybe 2 to 3 months, I looked at it and it was $1,300. If that money was in the bank, that would have been just $1,000 at any point in time. But in 3 months, it was $1,300, and I took out maybe 100, 200 out of it because I needed it. And that's when I realized that even after taking out some of the money, my $1,000 is still safe in stocks and it's growing. And that's when I learned the power of investing, power of compounding. So I decided to come back to India, learn a bit more about finance, and maybe I didn't think of it at the time. I didn't think of it that, hey, I want to make a career out of it. But I came back to just reevaluate the world of finance and learn more about it.
That's great. So it wasn't just a random choice. It was like a calculated choice along with the curiosity that grew. And so you learn to manage all your expenses and all that too in a foreign currency. And then you learn something new out of it. So that was great. All right.
Yeah, you make
So
mistakes and that's how you learn.
yeah. So make mistakes early and then learn early and grow, right? All right.
Yeah, just learn from it. Don't keep making mistakes.
Right. All right. So, heading to next question. Could you please tell us about your time in Canada? Like, how did the academic culture there differ from how you were used to in India? And how were the people across like that? How did they talk about money and finances in daily life?
Yeah, I mean, so one thing that I really liked about Canada or North American education system was it was a much more student-friendly system environment. I mean, I didn't do my graduation in India, so I don't know the specifics of how everything goes on in India. But I've heard it from my friends who did graduate from India, and they were like, the Indian education system is more focused on theory rather than practicals.
Practical.
Like, for example, learning about OrCAD, like learning about circuits. In our program, we learn how to program the circuits in a software, and they teach that in India too, right? But they also taught us in Canada. They also taught us how to print it from a PCB board and how to actually make something out of that chip and a working RC car or a working project, right? So so that was fun part of it. And even like the exams and the marking structure was very different. So it's not all focused on the final exam. The final exam was maybe 20 to 25% of the final grade. But if you did well, throughout the course and maybe something happened, maybe you weren't feeling well during the final exams, you still won't fail the course because it depends on the quizzes, it depends on the practicals, it depends on the small midterms exams. Like those are divided 10, 15% stuff in a way that if you actually grab what they're trying to tell you, you're gonna pass the course regardless of the final exam outcome. And final exam is sort of like a burden on students as well, right? So
Yeah.
that's where I loved the education system there. And also, like in India, you meet mostly Indians in the college, but when you go outside, you meet people from different races. Like, okay, you see that how different people are at investing. Like for example, some people might be very bad at investing and some people are exceptionally good at it. You know, they know how to get the most out of their money. So that was also a good thing about studying there.
That's great. I really like the academic curriculum abroad and it's the way it's structured and layered for students to perform well in different stages. All right. So our next question is like there is a massive craze right now about among Indian students. Like everyone wants to study abroad. They want to just grab a foreign degree, settle there. So having you actually lived that experience, what do you think about it? What's your honest take about it? Like, is it worth the hype or not?
I mean, it's a bit of both, you know. If you're very young and you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what your clear goals are in life, you just want to figure it out. I would suggest my personally opinion would be to just stay in India and make the mistakes here so that when you're outside and you make those mistakes, you're the only one who pays for it. Like you make financial mistakes, you make different types of mistakes. You maybe skipped your exam, maybe you forgot how to wake up in the morning, or you learn, you pay the price more hefty in outside, right? So I would suggest to stay in India if you're Indian, and you know work a bit more on yourself, do your graduation, and when you're at a point in life, when you're 24, 25, you start to think more seriously about future, because now you're at this mid 20s, you're approaching 30s, and in your head you're like, okay, people around me, somebody's getting married, somebody's already very successful in the job, somebody's buying a new car, and you have this pressure, not just pressure, like you have this drive in your life that you want to do something, right? So when you have that clarity, you should go outside. Maybe if you have clear goals about what you want to do, if you want to do a job, if you're going outside for a business, if you just want to get exposure, stuff like that. But if you're young, I would suggest just stay in India. It's not all fun and games as they show in the movies. You struggle for it. Sometimes you don't have time to eat. Sometimes you're busy 7 days, 5 days college, 2 days part-time job, everything. So if you're happy in India, I would say stay in India for at least your graduation, and then go for your masters, go for a job just for a job, right? When your path is more set.
That's really an honest review, and that could really be valuable for people who are in the middle of making that decision right now. That must be thought upon. All
Definitely.
right. So next question is, you have a computer science background and currently you're learning financial literacy. So is there any scope in future that you'll be trying to combining or both of your learnings to contribute something meaningful? Would you like to do?
So yeah, that's a good question. Actually, that's true about what you said about fintech. How these apps that are and websites, some broking websites and stuff like that exist in the financial market. I mean, tech overall is such an integral part of every business at this point, anyways. But personally, for me, after I studied this, so what I'm doing is currently a chartered financial analyst exam, and that gives you a much more deeper dive into the finance, like not just your personal finance, how the finance works in corporations, the government, and how the government deals with such a big amount, how do they budget stuff, right? So once you learn about that, I have much more interest into personal fund management, because that's something I feel like I'm good at, and I would rather become just a portfolio manager, or I would want to have my own fund, but I wouldn't. I would leave the tech part to the professionals.
That's a great choice. Like, focusly, you're driven into that financial literacy part and you're just not trying to mindlessly combine the two. So that's good. About the chartered financial analyst thing you said, like, what could be your vision about this examination? Like, where do you see yourself taking ahead?
So first of all, it's a very tough examination. You can only pass it if you are in love with finance, because it's like the fifth most toughest exam in the world, and and it gives you a much more deeper dive into the finance, like how finance is just not about investing in the stocks. Stocks market is volatile. You see the the world around us right now. We are at a war, like the world is at war, Iran and US war and everything. And because of that, financial markets have taken a big hit. Most of their returns have turned into negative. So people who had their money only invested in stocks, they are still not in profit, right? But with this program, CFA, that it tells me much more about how you can manage your finances in a way that it wouldn't really matter what's going around in the world. Your money would still be protected, and you would still earn steady profits throughout, because they diversify your money in such a way that it's not just in stocks. You invest a portion of it in stocks, you invest a portion of it in gold, you invest a portion of it in bonds, you invest some portion in the emerging markets, you invest some portion in the US markets, some portion in the hedge fund, some portion in the mutual fund. So once you have a basket of investments that are giving you the returns, so one might be negative, but there might be six other that are positive. So your overall portfolio is always going to stay green. And this is something that I never knew about, and I met a lot of people in India. I have a lot of friends, and when I talk to them, nobody knows about this because they don't teach this in any of the schools or any of the colleges degree. You have to deep dive into the finance market if you wanna get into it. But as a starter for maybe students and stuff, I would say get the basics right of the trading. You should know what a demand is. You should know what a resistance is. You should know what a support is. You should know how to see the trading charts. People who want to intraday, I know people who don't know how to read charts, but they want to trade every day and make money out of it. It's impossible. You have to have some kind of technical and fundamental analysis to make profits in stock markets or anywhere. Like you have to research about it. You can't just take the money and invest it in some random stuff and think that you're going to be rich. That's not how it works. So, so financial literacy is important in a way, and I feel like a lot of people stay away from it in Indian markets. They're not in India. They're not very aware about stock market investments and commodities and bonds and everything. They all think that this is gambling. They'd rather just keep their money in cash, or they rather just keep their money into just gold or just a single concentrated investment. Some people who like stocks, they would just put all their money in stocks, but that's not how a true investment works. Like this would give this way your money is not truly protected as you think it is. But it's better than just money sitting at home. If you have so the annual inflation rate of India is about 4%. So if you keep 1 lakh rupees today in your house in cash, then next year the value is going to drop down to 96,000. And after that it's going to drop down to 92,000 and so on. So maybe in 10 years time your money is maybe half its value, right? Because of the inflation, just inflation. So when you invest in a fixed deposit and they promise you 7%, 4% of that is already an inflation. So essentially, you're only making 3%. But most of the people don't know it. Most of the people think that, oh, they're just giving 7% for life. That's not true. They're just giving you the extra 3% over the inflation rate. And once you know about it, that's when you're going to start diversifying your portfolio, putting more money into different sources of income. So that's why financial literacy is important in India. And India is an emerging market, so there's a lot of investment. With emerging markets, I mean that India is a developing economy. So you see startups around us that are just starting today, and maybe in 3 to 5 years' time, they reach up to a 300, 400 crore valuation because they're doing so good. We have so much volume, we have so much population here that if we become a financial literacy, if we become financial literate, then India is going to be on top of the world.
Right. Yeah, definitely. The Indian family part is definitely true. People think like money will be safe in the savings accounts or fixed deposits and all, but they don't see the invisible cost it will pay them in the long run.
Exactly.
Okay. Also about that Indian households may, uh, speaking of money is like a taboo topic. Like we have been taught from an early age that we don't ask someone that how much they earn, like, or where does the family savings go, or if the home is in debt or something like that. We don't talk about these questions. So, when grown in this environment, how do you think we can raise the financial awareness from ground?
Well, I mean, first of all, that I feel like we should put more education out, which India is doing right now. That they're telling you that hey, people who are just trying to give you tips, that's not real. There are a lot of scams that go around it as well. That's why people are much more protective about their money in India. So First of all, on a family level, what I can suggest is that families and especially parents should talk to their kids more about money. Like they should tell them that, hey, I'm investing here and why am I investing here? This is what I saw in it and that's the reason. So let's say you invest into stocks, right? A general person who invests into stocks would go onto the family, on a company's website and look at its balance sheet and say that, oh, okay, this is the company's revenue, this is the company sales, this is the company cost, and the company is positive, then it's a good investment on a general basis, right? Uh, Parents should just tell their kids that too. I mean, definitely not like a small kid, but I would say if a kid is above 18, 20, and understands basic mathematics and basic stuff about how money revolves around, parents should educate a little bit in a fun way. Try to get in a fun way. Try to induce investors like, hey, like this is 100 rupees, and I'm gonna show you some trades. And instead of giving their pocket money directly, they should maybe give them a trading account and be like, hey, I'm gonna put 1,000 rupees in it and let's see what you can do about it. And let them make mistakes, small mistakes, and they're gonna learn from it. And they're gonna get interested when they see their money grow. When you put 1,000 rupees into something and 3 months later with you doing nothing, just sitting at your home, somebody says you, okay, here's 1,300. That's a good feeling. And once you get addicted to that feeling, you're gonna be like, okay, I want to do something with my money. I don't want to put money in my bank. I don't want to put cash in my house. I want to invest that money. I want to let the money grow itself. For example, if you invest 10 lakh rupees today, and if you let it grow for 20% every month, that's a very ambitious figure. Usually, it doesn't grow by 20% every month. But let's say it goes for 20% every month, you're gonna have 70 to 80 lakhs rupees in the next 3 years. So that's the power of compounding. That's the power of compounded annual growth rate. Like people should understand the basic mathematics that revolves behind it. Like how 10 lakh rupees, if it gives you a 20% return every month, next month your 10 lakh rupees is 12 lakh. And the 20% return that you're going to earn in the third month is going to be on the 12 lakh, not the 10 lakh. So you're going to be earning 22,000 instead of, you're going to be earning 2.2 lakhs instead of just 2 lakhs last month. And that's how your money grows. Instead of just putting in a bank doesn't give you anything for the savings account. And if you put it in an FD, it's a very slow growth rate. 3% return is nothing. Even if you put it in a bond, and most of the people don't know about bonds either. Like, bonds is how the government raise money for projects and stuff. And once you know about these investment vehicles, then you know where to park your money smartly. And let's say you plan to purchase a car in the next 3 years. So you put some money inside today for in investing. And if you invest it properly, after that 3 years, that money is going to be maybe doubled or maybe grown up 30, 40% of its value. So essentially you're getting a 30 to 40% discount on your car if
That's a
you just
great
invest it
approach.
right.
Definitely. Like students should definitely be taught financial awareness from an
Yeah.
early age instead of like mindlessly spending on something unproductive and unhealthy habits. Yeah, we can switch to this thing. Okay. So lastly, uh, finally, for every student or the young person who is listening to this and who hasn't yet thought of their financial future and they're just figuring out the path, which path to take in life, what is that one thing you would want them to walk away with from this conversation today?
So I hope that I got some of the people a bit curious about finances and curious about investing. So if people are if anybody is curious about finance or anybody is curious about trading, they can maybe join a short course about how to read charts. I'm telling you, reading charts is like once you get into it, once you see the patterns, like once you can predict the stock is going to go up now, the stock's going to go down now, and it actually happens, and you get good at it, you're going to be, it's going to be the best feeling, trust me.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was a great end note. And thank you so much for sharing your truly inspiring journey with us from Canada to computer science to financial literacy and all. So, yeah, this has been an enriching conversation, and I'm sure our listeners would have a lot to learn from.